What if I told you that even the worst traders in the world could still make money just by getting in at the right stocks at the right time? In this video, I'm going to reveal the exact copy and paste setup that I use to find stocks right before they explode every single time. This copy and paste setup has brought me gains like 600% on Home Depot, 266% on Hood, 2000% on Riot, 261% on PLTR and Kava, and over 100% gains on Hims and Spotify. And this was all within the past year. And I'm able to hit these gains so consistently just because of a simple 10-minute scanning process that I'm going to share with you right now that lets you find these stocks right before they take off. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. So we're inside the screen. Now the first thing that you want to do is actually go and open up a new tab, and you want to go to a site called finviz.com, finviz.com, just like this. This is a free scanner tool that anyone can use, and I love it because it's free and it works, and it shows literally every stock you can ever imagine. Now, once you get to the site, you want to follow these exact steps, all right? So you want to head over on the top left here to the screener, go ahead and click that, and then you want to go over here and click all, okay? Now, these are all the different filters that you can use to find and filter out the different stocks you want to look at. You can see right now it's showing close to 10,000 different stocks, right? 9,800 stocks. We obviously want to dial this down and find the right stocks that we know are going to essentially take off very, very soon. We can get in before it and make a bunch of money. Now, there are two different scanner settings that I'm going to show you in this video, but without further ado, let's just dive in and show you the first one. Now, personally, what I like to do is the price, all right? Now, I don't like to trade penny stocks. It's not really what I like to do. I trade options. I like to trade large cap stocks. So the first thing I typically do is change the price to be over $20. This just means I'm, sticking with higher price stocks. I know that it's going to have good volume, a little bit better volume, and I don't have to worry about any fills or liquidity issues doing anything under $20. Now, the other thing I like to do is that I like to trade options. Now, you don't have to do the second option if you want to, but over here where it says option and short, I just like to say optionable, okay? This way, it's going to show me stocks that I know are optionable. I can trade options on them. That typically allows me to get the biggest gains. But again, it's really up to you. You can turn this on or off depending on what you want to do. Now, for this first specific scan setting, it's a little bit more on stocks that we know are really going to run and they're really going to crush for us, all right? Now, the next step for this one is going to be the float, all right? Now, typically, when you're trading low float stocks, they're typically lower priced. But a lot of people don't know that you can actually trade low float stocks that are over $20 or relatively higher price. And with the float, what I like to do is turn this to under 100 million, just like that. All right, it's going to narrow it down just a little bit. That we have a little bit of a lower float, so we know that we can get stocks that can actually move for us quite a bit, as opposed to stocks that are just going to move a few dollars every single day. We want stocks that can really, really ramp up and give us some pretty crazy returns. Now, the last thing I want to do on this is simply go to current volume. If I can go ahead and find it. Sorry, I haven't done this specific one in a while. Right here, it says current volume, and have that be over 400K, just like that. And then boom, we have a list about 384 stocks. Now, that is a lot of stocks to look through. And typically what I do from here is a very simple process. All right. Now, the next scan set I'm going to show you, we'll typically get it down to like 10 or 15. This one is definitely a wider range. So if you don't see any in the next scan set I'll show you, definitely come back to this one. But this is really great because what I like to do is head over to this little charts tab, just like this. And then boom, it's going to show you all these different tickers in the charts. All right. Now, I'm typically in 10, 15, 20 minutes. You can go through all these charts really quickly. I'll kind of show you how I trade them and how I look through these. So you can actually find the one stocks that are going to explode before they happen. All right. Now, what I typically do is have up both my charting platform set up side by side with the screener. I typically use TradingView. That's just the one I like. You can obviously use whichever ones you want, but TradingView is free. It's really nice, very clean platform. So what I'll do is I'll go through the scan settings here. I'll go through all these, and I'll just simply take a quick glance as I look through them. All right. So typically look through and see if the setup I'm looking for is there. Now, what actually is the setup I'm looking for? Well, I want to see a huge ramp higher and then a pullback for a move back into a somewhat of a demand zone or another push higher, right? And to give you a good example, I can just see two of them right off the bat, right in front of me. They look really, really solid, right? So the first one being AAOI. So what I do is I find one like this. I pull up in the actual chart to my charting platform, and I give it a better look. I give it just a closer look of what I think is going to happen, all right? And you can see that price had a huge rally beforehand. And that's the first part of the strategy. What we want to look for is stocks that have a huge ramp higher. They have a pullback into a, quote, demand zone, and then we look for that push higher again as well. This is a very classic pattern, and I know people will call this like a bull flag or just an uptrend or whatever. I don't typically actually trade bull flags like this. I know a lot of people do. I know it's a very like beginner kind of based thing. I don't like to trade bull flags. What I look for is supply and demand balances, all right? And typically what I mean by that is on this huge move up here, typically you'll kind of see like a little like notch somewhere in between where you have a little bit of consolidation, all right? So typically, if I can draw out my path, it may look something like this, okay? A little consolidation and then a move higher. This is what I want to look for on that move higher. And you can see how perfect it actually lines up right here. You can see we have this huge strong move higher. We have this little consolidation period and another huge push higher after that as well. And so what I want to look for this specific strategy is a move back into what I call this demand zone right here. And then boom, we're going to get a push higher after price touches this zone. Now, the thing with this strategy is that it is somewhat of a waiting game, okay? You're not going to find a stock right away and then immediately the next day have it spike higher, right? If that was the case and I was a crystal ball, then we'd all be billionaires, right? But what you want to look for is simply when I find these setups, I'll add this to a watch list. So like AAOI, I'll go ahead and add that to the watch list. I'll go down here in my swing watch list, and then what I'll do is add an alert right at that demand zone, just like this, add alert, okay? Now the key thing here is that this little like, consolidation, this little like pivot in the upswing, that's where price typically bounces from. It happens so like almost pretty much all the time. I never want to say 100%, but it happens all the time where price will bounce off this little notch and they'll end up reversing higher. We didn't quite get to it right here, but I do think in the next coming days or weeks, if this price does come down, or the stock comes down into this area and we see it bounce, this is a great buy opportunity to then get options for this thing to continue higher. Because again, you can see this stock has momentum. It's done this in the past. And again, you can see how well it works in the past, right? Stock rallies, we have a pullback, it rips higher, we come right back into that demand zone. And then what does it do? It continues to rip higher. And this wasn't a matter of like 1 or 2 months, but this made like a 300% gain from like $7 all the way up to 21. Now this on the options would be like close to 1,000, 2,000%. And again, the same setup is happening right here. And if we can catch this move and we're patient enough, we can make these type of gains. And so what I typically do is I'll find a setup like this, add it to watch list, add the alert, and I simply wait for the alert to come down. That's when I get in, I execute, and I let the trade play out. And you can see this happens time and time again with a bunch of different stocks. You can see right off the bat, another one, AAON, looks beautiful. If I go ahead and pull this up, you can see we had a nice push higher. We had this little notch, this little pullback. It's like 2-day consolidation that we're currently in right now. So this would actually be a good example of when I look to buy right around now, put my stop right below this low here, have a really nice risk reward play just on this setup like so, target the highs, and boom. You have a nice 3-hour trade. You have the opportunity for this thing to explode because it's shown us that it can explode in the past and that this momentum will keep it going higher. Okay, you can see the exact same thing it did right here. Nice strong move higher. This is more of like a weekly time frame would be a little bit better. But you guys get the idea, right? Nice strong move higher. We have a little bit of a pullback into this little consolidation area. It comes back inside and then it rips higher. And it continues doing that over and over again. You can see we're coming back to it right here. All right. Now that's typically what I do. And I'll go through, it takes 10-15 minutes. I'll go through and I'll just find all these different stocks. If I see one that looks interesting, I'll go ahead and pull it on my watch list, pull it up on the actual trading view charts, and then I'll go from there and continue pulling off the charts like this. All right. Now it does take a little bit of work, right? There's like about 300 different stocks. Sometimes, most times there's actually a lot. You'll typically see like 100 or 200. But what you can do is simply just go through this, find stocks, add them to your watch list, and then boom. At the end of the day, you'll have like 10, 15 stocks on your watch list with the alert set. All you have to do is sit around for the rest of the week, wait for the alerts to come down, and then you go ahead and execute and make money. You're going to see these stocks happen right before they explode, time and time again. All right, so this is the first scan set. Now just go ahead and put it on the screen. So if you want to take a screenshot, you want to write it down, this is what you can do. You can also just take a screenshot of this column right here. You'll see it's a very simple scan setting, but it works extremely well. All right. Now, what I want to do is show you the actually next simple scan process that's on the same website. It's on the same thing. This one will typically have a lot less stocks, but also some gainers that are really, really going to crush for you, right? Now, here's the changes you want to make to this, all right? You want to keep optional, just like this. If you're going to trade options, you want to keep the price over $20, but we want to change a few different things, all right? We want to get rid of the float. We want to get rid of the current volume, just like that. And what we're going to do now is change the performance, all right? This is where we can actually see like the actual performance of the stock itself, so we can see these different gains and what we want to look at, all right? Now, the first thing we want to do is go to performance and turn the week down 10%, all right? And I'll kind of explain in a second what we're actually looking for. But week down 10%, week performance 2, you want to do quarter up 10%, which should be right here, just like that, up 10%. And then the last thing you want to do is find something called relative volume, which is going to be right here on the left. You want to change this to be over 1.5. Boom. Now, there are not a lot of stocks on here, right? There's only 4, all right? And some of these look pretty low liquid, low volume. So if this is the case, you can typically move this down to just over 1. You should get a few more. We'll get 8. It's a little bit better. Like I said, this specific scan setting doesn't have as much, but these tend to be a lot more accurate, and they tend to work extremely well. Now, when we see these setups, you can see a lot of these are huge runners and they love to gain. We kind of want to look for something similar, right? So I can see just off the top of my head, if I'm looking through at this different charts of these scan settings, I'll go ahead and see TSLR, right? And I'll go ahead, pull this up on my actual chart like this. You can see TSLR. Now, this one looks extremely good. It looks very, very similar to the setup we had prior, right? We have a huge past move where price just went straight up. That shows us there is aggressive buying, shows us there is demand, that price wants it, or buyers want to take this higher. And basically with the strategy, what we're looking for is a pullback on higher volume, right? That's kind of the key here with the relative volume and the week down, right? We're looking for a stock that has shown us in the past quarter, this thing can rip, this thing can move higher, but in the past week, it took a little fall. It is going down, right? We're looking to buy this dip, buy this pullback. The key here is the relative volume, all right? A lot of people get this wrong with volume. They look to see, price move up and then pull back on low volume on that bull flag and then continue ripping higher and high volume. That's actually kind of the opposite of what you want to look for, right? The best way to trade this is you want to see a price pull back on increased volume. And you can see a very good example of TSLR right here. When price goes down here, what do we have? A nice increase in relative volume. You can see compared to the past few days, the volume bars are right around here, but this day when price bottomed, we had a nice spike in volume, right? This is good. This shows us the price wants to reverse, and we can see that by the next daily candle where price go ahead and engulfs it and does a really strong candle moving upwards, right? This is a stock I would go ahead and honestly want to buy like right now. Not that I'm saying you should do this, or it's not financial advice, but this is a very good setup. And you can see price actually, if I zoom in, came back down to this little area, this little demand zone where that little consolidation started. All right, so we kind of have two different zones in one here, and honestly, this stock is looking like it wants to keep ripping and moving higher. So this is definitely one I would add to my watch list for one to get into a stock, because this one looks like it's primed to explode again and continue this momentum into the future, right? Same exact thing with SOUN. This one looks like a freaking beast of a stock. If I go ahead and pull this up, what do you guys notice right here? What do we have, right? Same exact setup. We have a nice spike, little consolidation, another spike higher, right? What do I want to see? I want to see price come back down exactly to the spike here. We're going to bounce, and then we're going to continue moving higher. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw this zone just like this at this little consolidation. I'm going to go ahead and add an alert just like that. Boom, create. And then now when price comes back down into the zone, I can go ahead, I'll get the alert, I'll get notified, I'll look to buy some options, buy some calls, and then boom, I'll have a really good risk reward from getting in right here. My stop is right below this low, and we target all the way at the highs just like that. And I'll go ahead, and this is a beautiful setup right here, SOUN. I'm going to add this to the watch list as well. Keep this on watch. But just like that, this is a scan setting. You can see USLM. I can just take a quick glance simply by looking at this scan setting. They're already coming back down into that same area. That's going to be one to watch. Some things like BITS, you kind of want to stay away from. It doesn't have a lot of volume. You can tell just by looking at it. Or TSLW, just not a lot of volume. So some things like these you want to stay away from. But most of the stocks using these scannings are going to go pretty well for you. And you can see I just put it on the screen right here for you. So again, if you want to screenshot this, if you want to screenshot this, do that. Go ahead, put it down in your notes. That way you have this, you'll remember this. And I believe if you even make an account with them, you can save these. I'm not really sure. I just do it manually every time. But again, at the end of the day, it's up to you. But these are the scan settings I use to find stocks right before they explode. Now, if you guys did learn from this and you want to learn more about supply and demand and how to trade these actually strategies, I'm going to leave a link in the description going to this video right here that's on my YouTube channel already. Okay, this is a free course. It's a 36-minute video going over supply and demand. It goes over everything that I learned in the past 7 years of me being a trader, and I'd highly check that out because you're going to learn a ton in implementing this strategy with the stock scanning settings that you learn in this very video. So go ahead, click the first link in the description. It has this video right here. I'll see you guys in the next video.